Hello everyone, welcome to my watercolor painting channel, and on today's lesson we're gonna paint together a vintage Christmas ornament. So I'm gonna be using 300 GSM watercolor paper cold press from Winsor&Newton, and I transferred my sketch on my good quality paper. This is the paper that I'm using, and you can do the same. You can download the sketch and then transfer it onto your good quality paper. Also here I'm gonna tell you what pigments we're gonna be using. So we're gonna be using Payne's grey, yellow ochre, raw amber, sap green, Prussian blue, light red, cadmium yellow, yellow pale, burnt amber, and cadmium orange. For this painting I actually used just a couple of brushes. So one of them was size number 6 and another one was 20 from proArte, so it's a tiny brush, but overall the main painting I just done using this brush size number 6. So let's begin. So as you can see on my right hand side I have just a piece of my palette sticking out, and I'm using my brush size number 6 to start with. So it's gonna be our first layer, and it's gonna be very watered down layer, so I'm gonna be using less pigment and a lot of water. So I'm starting with Payne's grey, and you can see it's barely noticed on the paper, however there is some color. And also I am using here a little bit of that yellow ochre, and I'm constantly looking at my reference picture, and I'm noticing that it's warmer, sort of closer to the face of this sun. I think it's a sun on that Christmas ornament. So, and I'm also using sap green just a little bit. As you can see, it's very watered down. And what I'm doing with all these very watered mixtures that I have, I am just outlining the face of the sun, and I will be leaving white spaces as I go around this Christmas ornament, because they will be white spots, shiny spots, because this is a glass Christmas ornament. So the best thing that you can do to paint white is just leave it out. So you're gonna be concentrating and painting on everything but not this white spots on our Christmas ornament. So as you can see, I'm here using a very light combination of that yellow ochre with just a little bit of sap green, and on the right hand side I'm now scooping more of the cadmium yellow. And as you can see, it's now quite concentrated, so I'm deciding to use a little bit more of yellow color on this side. And as you can see, just with the tip of my brush, I am not doing it precisely, but I'm just looking constantly on my reference picture, and I'm finding where all the shiny spots, and I'm just almost like outlining them, so I will know I can't go over them. So that's what essentially I'm doing here. And also I'm creating a shadow area, but these shadow areas will be darkened with other layers. But for now I'm just like sort of mapping out where all the colors gonna be on my painting. And if you look at the reference picture, you will see that the right hand side is a lot warmer, and it has like very orangey yellow color. That's why I am essentially just using those on the right hand side. And then I'm moving to the left, and on the left I didn't leave a lot of the gaps, so there would be a lot less of the shininess. That means that probably the light is coming from the right hand side. And I'm using very watered down Payne's grey mixed with a little bit of raw amber, just to paint the top of my Christmas toy, Christmas ornament. And then I'm moving to other areas, and because it's still wet, all the areas right now, I'm just additionally put in more and more color. So as you can see here, I'm just added a little bit of that paint grade, and notice how light these colors are. And I'm allowing them to bleed, of course. I'm using just my brush, my clean but slightly damp brush, to adjust all the bleeds, and I'm just constantly looking how they're merging with each other. And now I'm moving on to the center of my Christmas ornament, and I'm using very watered down light red with a little bit of cadmium orange, and I start very light, as you can see, from the left side, and I'm then adding a little bit more of cadmium orange. And as you noticed, I'm leaving the gap in between this ring and between the face of the sun, and I'm doing this on purpose because this will be a lighter area as well, and plus as well it saves me from this color bleeding into my main ring of the sun. And then I'm very gently adjusting it with a brush, but because it's so light, even in the areas where it might bleed, like on top, it's okay. I'm just letting it go. And then I'm scooping more of the raw amber with a little bit of yellow ochre, but I'm using less water and more pigment because we're painting wet on wet. So I'm adding more color right now because I want bleeds on my painting. As you can see, I am just adding them in a manner how they pictured on my reference picture. So I'm looking at my reference picture and I'm seeing where this really warm brown color are on my reference picture, and I'm just adding them. And then with my clean brush, I'm just adjusting somewhere where my bleeds went too far, and then using the same color combination. So it's yellow ochre with raw amber. I'm just placing it on the left hand side of the face because it's a shadow area there, and I'm just allowing it to bleed. And then at the same time, I'm scooping a little bit of the Prussian blue. Again, it doesn't have to be very concentrated, so you can pre-mix Prussian blue with a little bit of that raw amber. And then you placing it next to the face and in a few places in a shadow area of these sun rays on our ring. Yeah, so remember, it's still quite light. After I finished with application of my first layer, it's still damp, so I am gonna be doing lifting the pigment technique. So what it means, so I will be using my clean and damp brush to remove excess paint. So you will be putting your clean and slightly damp brush on a surface where you want to remove some paint. So just like so on the video, and you can use bigger brush if needed for that technique. And essentially it's great to create highlights, reflected lights, to add sense of shape and volume to any object you paint. Just make sure that you are cleaning your brush in between lifting the pigments. So I left my painting to dry 100%. Usually it's a good idea to give your first layer to dry for a good couple of hours. So now we're going to do a second layer. So on my palette on the right hand side, I'm going to be using 3 different color combinations. So first one is sap green plus raw amber, and the second one will be cadmium yellow and cadmium orange together. And then for cooler yellow color, I'm using yellow pale mixed with emerald. So essentially I will be using these 3 colors, 3 color combinations, to paint my second coat. And I'm still going to be using my brush size number 6, and so we will be painting wet on dry. So our paper is 100% dry. Just keep an eye on the reference picture and also on my palette. So for the second layer we don't need as much water, we're just going to be using a lot less water. And let's start. So I'm going and I'm actually mixing these 2 color combination a little bit, so yellow pale with emerald and cadmium yellow and orange, just a little bit, and then I'm starting outlining the shadow area round the face of the sun. Yeah, so because this area on my reference picture looks darker, so I'm just gonna start with this one, and don't worry if it's not 100% perfect, it's not about that. So just with the tip of your brush outline in some areas the face of the sun, leaving the light gap in between. And also what I'm going to be doing, I'm essentially just looking at my reference picture and I'm painting shadow, so I'm ignoring everything else, and I'm also looking at my white spots that I left on my paper, so those highlights. So I will be painting all the shadows right now, and when I'm looking at my reference picture, I'm trying to squint my eyes, and what colors do I see? So on the right hand side I see a lot of yellow, orange, lemon colors, and it's naturally a lot warmer, and it has loads of really bright yellow colors. So that's why I'm going back to my palette, and I'm using cadmium yellow, cadmium orange to paint on that side. Again, you don't have to start really dark, just build it up gradually. So I'm using just the tip of my brush, and I am just applying this yellow, cadmium yellow with cadmium orange on the right hand side. As I'm going to the left hand side, and I'm also checking my reference picture, I can see there are a lot of shadow area or like reflection which are quite dark. So for that purpose I'm using that sap green with raw amber to paint them, and I'm just looking at my reference picture and I'm trying to create and paint the shadow exactly how it looks on the reference picture. So you might be a little bit scared to do that, but actually just try to relax and just try to look at your reference picture and just trust yourself, because in the end it will look okay. It will, I promise you. So I'm now going up on my left hand side, and I'm just painting the darkest points on my Christmas ornament. As you can see, it's really saturated right now in color, and I'm just essentially also remembering that there are summer rays, and I am trying to replicate them on my artwork as well. So I will be just painting shadow area and midtones on my Christmas ornament. So I'm still using my brush size number 6, and I'm using color combination of sap green and raw amber to make and to paint a darker points on my Christmas ornament. And you also might notice that I'm also leaving some of the gaps once I'm painting all the summer rays, and I'm doing this on purpose. If you look on your reference picture, you will see that some of the rays, they have a lot of reflection on it, and I'm just trying to replicate it as well. So I'm not painting all the shadows just like in one line. So I'm looking at my reference picture and I'm squinting my eyes as well, just trying to adjust and find those colors that I need to use and where all the rays are going. But I'm here, I'm not very precise, am I? But you still can see that it's very similar to what we have on the reference picture. I'm using this sap green and raw umber, and I'm almost leaving like slight dots in between sun rays because essentially they are like a darker points on our Christmas ornament. I'm also using here Payne's grey mixed with a little bit of Prussian blue, but it's very watered down, I would say. And I am also placing it to sort of outline some of the parts of my Christmas ornament. Not all the way through, just in some areas I'm just adding this very weak Payne's grey with a little bit of Prussian blue, just to make it darker and also to add slightly cooler colors there. I'm also using slightly darker combination of that Payne's grey with Prussian blue on the left hand side of my Christmas ornament, and also I'm going to be painting the top of our Christmas ornaments as well. So I will be using light red here. As you can see, I started quite dark, and once I've done it, I'm going back to my jar, I'm washing my brush, dumping it against the tissue, and then I'm sort of unevenly spreading this color in that area. And I don't mind if it's bleeding with my Prussian blue. I'm actually dumping there a little bit of Prussian blue, a little bit of emerald green, just a little bit. You don't need a lot. And also I am thinking that the light's coming from right hand side, so it will be slightly lighter on that side, yeah? So that's why I will be removing some excess paint from that area. But for now, I'm actually using here just a little bit of burnt sienna, just to paint some of the areas on my Christmas ornament. I'm gonna be using Winsor&Newton burnt sienna from Cadmium series, and as you can see on my palette, I just squeezed a little bit. You don't need a lot. And I will be looking at my reference picture. As you can see, it has very bright orangey lines on Christmas ornament. So I'm using my brush and a little bit of water to sort of get the pigment inside my brush, so I will have it. And then I'm looking at my reference picture and I'm just adding just this burnt sienna in places where I can see it on my reference picture. And I don't mind if it bleeds with some of the previous layers that we applied. Some of them already went dry. It's okay, it looks fine. So I'm gonna be just adding it everywhere where I see it on my reference picture, just using burnt sienna. And then we're moving on painting the face. So the face will be darker on the left hand side because it's in a shade. So I'm using burnt umber mixed with a little bit of that sap green, and also I use there light red. You can see it looks a little bit dirty, but actually on the reference picture it looks exactly like that. So once I apply these dark colors, then I'm going back to my jar, washing my brush, damping it against the tissue, and then I'm making it smooth, so I'm blending it with the previous layer. And once I've done it, I am going and adding just light red there, as you can see, and with my brush I'm trying to help all the paints distribute evenly on my face. So I'm trying to activate all the area in the middle. And once I've done that, I'm just getting some more of the cadmium yellow, just cadmium yellow on its own, and I'm painting the line around the face. I'm still leaving those white gaps, and I'm going back and I'm using even more of that cadmium yellow on its own. As you can see, there is not much water but a lot of pigment. It's very concentrated, so I just wanted to add this cadmium yellow in places on my Christmas ornament. And I don't mind if some of the parts gonna bleed in one another. I don't mind, it's fine. I'm starting with my big brush and I just wet the entire area on top of my Christmas bauble using just water, and then I'm swapping back to my smaller size brush. So I'm using brush size number 20 from proArte, and I'm using lamp black to paint Christmas bauble hanger just in one line, and then I'm adding just a little bit more of the pigment, and it's bleeding a little bit, but that's okay. And also the same lamp black I can use on a Christmas bauble just under the hanger. I've just added it, and because it's wet, it grew, like all the bleeds grew. I'm also adding there light red and Prussian blue, and I don't mind them bleeding. I want this effect of the rustic, vintage looking Christmas ornament. I'm using lamp black just to paint a shadow area on the cap, on the hanger. I'm also using lamp black to paint a shadow area on the hanger. Just lamp black really, and in some places I'm just outlining the cap. It creates sense of really worn down metal hanger. And I'm also using just a very watered down Prussian blue or Payne's grey you can use, just to add a little bit more of contrast just next to the main area of our bauble. And then I will be painting the face. So for that reason I will be using still lamp black, and you can look at the reference picture, and I'm using my small brush. It's size 20, and I will be painting with these eyebrows and eyes. I can still just about to see my graphite marks, but it's quite difficult because I can't really see the left eyebrow, but I managed to paint it so it looks okay. And I also really like the effect on these vintage toys, how they painted, how they used to paint eyes. I'm also painting nostrils with just using 2 dots, and I'm still using this lamp black. And then to paint lips, I'm just using light red to paint them in this manner. Also, I have an idea that I want to paint some cracks on the cheeks of the sun, and I'm using this sap green with raw amber. And I'm looking at my reference picture and I'm just roughly following it. I'm not doing it precisely, and I'm making sure that those cracks on the left hand side and they are darker than those on the right hand side. I've just added here a very diluted raw amber with sap green, just to give the sense of volume and shape on that sun, because the middle part is actually sticking out, so I just wanted to add more details. And now I will be using burnt amber mixed with sap green. So essentially I want to paint a third layer of my painting, and I want to paint shadows, so really dark points on our watercolor painting. So I'll be using my brush size number 6, and I am pre-mixing it on my palette, and it's quite it has not a lot of water, I would say. It has more pigment and it's quite concentrated, so it will be quite dark. As you can see, I'm started right now just applying it round the face of our sun, and then I will be just placing this color in the darker points of that Christmas ornament, just using tip of my brush to go round the face and then applying the lines boldly. As you can see, it's quite dark color. It looks like it's black, but it's really dark brown color mixed with some green color. I'm using this burnt umber to paint dots on the area where it's like the highest point of our Christmas ornament, where it gets attached to the hanger. And because it's slightly damp, you can see the dots grew a little bit, so they bled, but not too much. And this is actually the effect I'm going for, so I waited and I applied it just at the right moment. And here I'm just using tip of my brush to add light red as well. And now I swap to my small size brush. This is from ProArte 2.0, and I'm using Prussian blue, and I'm just adding it to outline the top part of our Christmas ornament, and also I will be adding dots using just simple Prussian blue. There you go. You can see how I apply, and because it's slightly damp, they don't grow too much or they don't grow at all, which is fine. Gives a lot of detail, and I love painting rusted things and things that are worn out. A few last touches and we're done. I'm just using my small brush just to add a little bit more of the shady area in between sun rays, and some of the areas I'm just outlining using this very watered down Prussian blue with a little bit of lamp black. As you can see, it's very light, and I'm not adding it all the way through. I don't want one single line round my Christmas ornament, just adding it in some areas. And I think we're done here, and I hope you enjoyed watching it. And you can download the picture, and you can download line drawing and try to do it yourself. If you enjoyed watching this video, please like, subscribe and leave me a comment down below. Thank you. If you like my teaching style, consider joining me on Patreon, where I upload new watercolor tutorials weekly. See you next time. Bye!